Hello everyone and welcome to Instant Biology by Dr. Riya. The topic that I am going to deal today is the amino acids that are having non-polar side chains, or in other words we can say that I am going to talk about the non-polar amino acids. So for those students who are not very comfortable in English, I have already made a video of the same topic in Hindi, and this video would be for our English students who understand English better. Okay, so first of all, before going deeper into the topic, let me first of all talk about what are standard and non-standard amino acids. We can start from there and gradually build up upon the concept and then reach to the non-polar amino acids. Mind you, I would be discussing the structures also, and I would be telling you how you can remember the structures of these amino acids. So let us start standard and non-standard amino acids. I'm starting with the first thing that you should be knowing is that there are 22 different amino acids. Now I'm saying 22 different. These 22 different amino acids are utilized in the protein synthesis. Okay, now there are more than 500 amino acids that are known, but all of them are not used, but those are not used in the protein synthesis. Only 22 different amino acids as of now are known to be used in protein synthesis. Now add one more important factor, that these amino acids, these 22 different amino acids, these are incorporated into the protein structure ribosomically. Now what do I mean by ribosomically? You should understand this, that the translation process, that means the process of the formation of protein or the process of synthesis of protein happens on the ribosome. That means ribosomes are responsible for the synthesis of the protein. We all know that, right? So the amino acids that are incorporated into the protein sequence, they use the ribosomes. I mean, the ribosomes are utilized for the formation of the proteins. So these amino acids are ribosomically attached into the growing protein chain. So only 22 amino acids as of now are known to be attached in the protein synthesis ribosomically. So this is the entire thing. Such amino acids, that means the amino acids, these 22 different amino acids that can be ribosomically attached into a growing protein chain, are called as standard amino acids or proteinogenic amino acids, right? What do you mean by proteinogenic? Proteinogenic, that means those amino acids that generate protein, right? So you can see over here, what have I written? I have written proteinogenic. That means generating protein. Generating protein. Okay, so they can be called as standard amino acid or they can be called as proteinogenic amino acids. Okay, now I believe you would have understood what is standard amino acids. Apart from these 22 amino acids, all the other amino acids are called as non-standard amino acids. Other amino acids other than these 22, other amino acids than 22, apart from these 22, they are called as non-standard amino acids. So I believe you would have understood the difference between standard amino acid and non-standard amino acid. Now let us move on to the next point. Inside a typical protein or inside a normal type of a protein, the most abundant amino acids that you would be finding are leucine, serine, lysine and glutamic acid. Now this is a very, very important point, and you should remember this, that inside a typical protein or inside a normal protein, you would find these amino acids in the maximum number: leucine, serine, lysine and glutamic acid. Now this question is asked, or this question has been asked in CSIR NET examination. And just contrary to this, just in contrast to this, tryptophan and methionine are the rare amino acids. Now you can correlate this concept, that means which amino acids are present in the highest number or which amino acids are present rarely. You can correlate this concept by the number of codons each amino acid has. If you check out the codon table, you will find out that leucine, serine, lysine, glutamic acid, these are the amino acids that are actually having large number of codons that code for these amino acids. But if I talk about tryptophan and methionine, there is only one codon for each tryptophan and methionine. I believe you would have understood this concept, right? So you should be knowing the concept of standard amino acid, non-standard amino acid, the highest number of amino acids that are present and the rarest amino acid that are present. So this sums up our first page. Let us now move on to the second page. Now what is an alpha amino acid? Now I need to explain you the concept of alpha amino acid before going into the depth of the non-polar amino acids. So this is the structure of a typical amino acid. You can check out this. I have made a typical amino acid. Over here you can see that at the center this is the alpha carbon. This is the alpha carbon. Now what is actually an alpha carbon? Understand this, that because this COOH has the highest priority, you would be knowing in basic chemistry classes, you would have heard that this COOH has the highest priority. Therefore, the carbon that is attached to this COOH is called as an alpha carbon, right? So therefore, this is called as an alpha carbon. Why again? What is alpha carbon? Let me just write it down over here. Alpha carbon is the carbon attached to the COOH group. Carbon that is attached to the COOH group is called as the alpha carbon. Now understand this. If I am trying to explain you what is the alpha amino acid. Alpha amino acid is the amino acid in which the alpha carbon is also attached to the amino group. Now you can see that this is the alpha carbon. Now this alpha carbon is also attached to the amino group or NH2 group over here. Therefore, we can call this as an alpha amino acid. So what is an alpha amino acid? When to the alpha carbon the amino group is attached. Amino group is attached. This is called as an alpha amino acid. Now another point arises over here, that are all the amino acids alpha amino acids, or can we call all the different amino acids as alpha amino acid? The answer to this question is no. You cannot call all amino acids as alpha amino acids. Why? Because there can be or there might be some amino acids in which you can see that this is the COOH group. So definitely the carbon that is linked to the COOH group will be called as an alpha carbon. Now again, the carbon that is next to this alpha carbon will be called as the beta carbon. The carbon that is next to the beta carbon will be called as the gamma carbon. Now suppose the amino group is attached to this gamma carbon. Now this type of protein structure will be called as gamma amino acid. This type of protein structure will be called as gamma amino acid. Now you have understood what is alpha amino acid. I told you what is gamma amino acid. Similarly, there can be multiple different types of amino acid, beta, delta, so on and so forth. So this is the concept of alpha amino acid. Now let us move on to the next point. Now I am going to explain to you what are the different types and characteristics of amino acid. Just give me a minute. What are the different types and characteristics of amino acid? Okay, so right, so different types and characteristics of amino acid. You can see that actually the amino acids, because in this lecture we would be concentrating on the amino acids with the non-polar side chain. Okay, we would be concentrating on the amino acids with the non-polar side chain. What do you mean by side chain? First of all, let us understand this. Side chain basically means the R group. Now you would be knowing that all amino acids have R groups, and on the basis of those R groups only the functions of the amino acid vary. Okay, so for example, let me show you the structure of glycine. If you see this, this is the C alpha, this is COOH, this is NH2, this is H, and this is also H over here. So in this case, this is the normal, this is the entire, what do you say, the scaffold of the amino acid. Any amino acid will have this structure definitely, but what varies in all amino acid is this region, that is R group. In case of glycine, the R group is the most simplest, it is H or hydrogen. Okay, now depending upon the side chain, we can classify the amino acids into polar and non-polar. I am not going to talk about the polar amino acids over here, I am going to talk about the non-polar only. But for your understanding, let me explain you what is a polar and what is a non-polar concept. Okay, so when we are saying polar, understand this, when you are saying polar, then polar means that there are two poles. Suppose A and B are linked together. Okay, for example, O and H are linked together. Okay, now definitely you know that oxygen has higher electronegativity than hydrogen. So oxygen will pull the electron towards itself more, and hydrogen will not be able to do so, so hydrogen will be positive. So this structure or this functional group is actually polar in nature. You understood that? And suppose I am talking about another thing. Suppose I am talking about A and A, or let us talk about this oxygen and oxygen, O double bond O. Now you know that two oxygens are interacting with each other, both have the same electronegativity, so the electrons will be shared equally, right? No oxygen will be able to pull the electrons towards itself more in comparison to the other one. Okay, so the sharing of the electron will be just equal. So when the sharing is unequal, just like in this case over here, sharing is unequal. When the sharing is unequal, the poles develop, and this type of structure will be called as polar. And when the sharing is equal, then the structure that will be developed is called as non-polar, right? So in case of polar, you can see partial positive and partial negative charge. In case of non-polar, you can see that equal sharing is present, therefore you will not be able to see the partial positive and the partial negative charge. Hope you have understood this. Now, since in this present lecture we would be talking about the non-polar amino acids, or the amino acids that have non-polar side chains, let us start with the glycine. Okay, so glycine is the first member of the non-polar side chain, non-polar amino acid family. Now what are the, in this particular lecture I would be talking about all the significant features of glycine. Just listen to me carefully and you would be thorough with all the significant features of all amino acids. Okay, now let us start with glycine. What do you know about glycine? You should be knowing that glycine, the first thing is that the one letter code is G. One letter code of glycine. Now you should be knowing that you should remember the one letter code as well as the three letter code of all amino acids. For example, the one letter code of glycine is G and the three letter code of glycine is GLY. In general, the amino acids have one letter code as the first letter of their name in general, but some are exceptions. For example, I can give you an example of arginine. Arginine's first letter is A, but the one letter code is R. This is an example, and there are multiple other examples also. We will learn about each one of them as we proceed in the lecture. Now, since we have understood the first letter, one letter code of glycine and the three letter code, let us move our attention towards the R group. Let me show you that all the amino acids have this structure at least in common. right? This is common, or you will see this structure common in all the amino acids. So what is the difference over here? The difference is H. What is this H? This H is called as the R group. What is it called? It is called as the R group. So I have written over here that R group is hydrogen. What have I written? R group is hydrogen. Now other important features of this glycine amino acids are that it is the simplest amino acid. You can understand this pretty easily because the simplest type of R group can be only hydrogen, right? You cannot go beyond the hydrogen. Hydrogen is the simplest thing. So since the simplest R group is present, therefore we can say that the amino acid is also the simplest. Next thing is, it is non-polar amino acid. Now I told you that polarity basically depends upon the electronegativity difference between the two elements that are attached with each other. Now carbon and hydrogen have almost the same type of electronegativity. You can see that over here the carbon and hydrogen are linked. This is hydrogen and this is carbon. Carbon and hydrogen have almost the same type of electronegativity. Therefore none of them is able to pull electrons from the other one. Therefore there is no polarity in this bond. Since there is no polarity, therefore the structure will be insoluble in water. Now why am I saying the structure will be insoluble in water, or glycine will be insoluble in water? Always remember that water is a polar solvent. Okay, water will solubilize only those things that are polar in nature. Okay, it will not be able to solubilize those things that are non-polar, right? So this is the reason, since I told you that glycine is non-polar in nature, therefore since it is non-polar, it will not be able to solubilize inside water. Third point. Okay, so first point was simplest amino acid, second point non-polar amino acid, third point insoluble in water, fourth point smallest amino acid. Now I believe you would have understood why it is called as smallest, because all the entire structure is common to all the other amino acids. Only difference is the R group, that is hydrogen. It is smallest, therefore we can say that the amino acid is smallest. Next, it is achiral in nature. Now you should be understanding that what is the concept of achiral. Okay, so what does chirality mean? Let me use another color so that you can check or you can understand in a better way. So what do you mean by chirality? Chirality simply means that if I am considering one carbon, then all the four valencies, suppose this is A, this is B, this is C, or let us say D, and this is E. If all the valencies A, B, C, I am not using D and E, if all the four valencies are different, then the structure is called as chiral. Otherwise the structure will be considered as achiral. Okay, so you can see that the structure of this glycine is, what is it? It is chiral. It is not chiral in nature, it is achiral in nature. Why? You can see that over here also hydrogen is present and over here also hydrogen is present. That means the molecule is achiral, since at two valencies the same element is present. Now if something is achiral, then it cannot be optically active. What do I mean by optically activeness? I have already made a video on optical activity, you can check out that, but for your reference I am just making you understand it in a brief fashion. Optical activity means the ability to rotate the plane polarized light in a particular angle, clockwise or anti-clockwise. Now, for a molecule or for an amino acid to be able to show optical activity, it should be chiral in nature. Now, since you can see that glycine is achiral in nature, therefore we can say that it will not be able to rotate the plane polarized light, or we can say that optical activity is absent in this molecule. What you can say that? You can say that the optical activity is absent. You can check out what I have written. Optical activity is absent over here. Now the last point that I want to explain over here is it is hydrophobic in nature. Now, since I told you that it is insoluble in water, it will not entertain water. Therefore, it means that it is hydrophobic. Hydro means water, phobic means to run away from or hating. Okay, so hydrophobic means it will not be soluble in water. So you can check out that I have explained you all the important points. It is simplest amino acid, insoluble in water, non-polar amino acid, smallest amino acid, achiral, optical activity absent, hydrophobic, and simple structure. Okay, now we have completed glycine, the first amino acid of the non-polar amino acid family is completed. Now let us move on to the second amino acid of this group. The second amino acid can also be called as alanine. It is called as alanine. Now let us talk about the 1-letter code over here and the 3-letter code over here. The 1-letter code is A, the 3-letter code is ALA. Okay. Now the R group, let us talk about the R group over here. Interestingly, the R group is CH3. Now you can understand or you can compare it with the structure of glycine. Glycine had the R group as H. The next complicated thing that you can think of after H can be CH3. One carbon can be added, so it can be CH3. Okay, so now you can easily remember that the first amino acid that we studied was glycine having an R group as H. The second amino acid that we are studying is alanine and the R group is CH3. Now you can see, let me just show it to you. So this is the NH2 group that you know that it is present in an amino acid. This is the COOH group that you again know that it is present in the amino acid. This is the central carbon and this is the hydrogen that I told you it is always present. So what is the difference? The difference is this CH3. I told you that the R group is CH3. Now again talking about the salient features of this amino acid, this is having a small structure. Definitely it is just comparable or it is just one step above the glycine, so definitely it has a small structure. Since you already know that CH3, again this is CH3, you know this. Now you will be able to understand this since it is CH3, carbon and hydrogen bonding is present, and over here also carbon-carbon bonding is present. You will be able to understand that there will be no polarity, right? Carbon and carbon is interacting, carbon hydrogen is interacting, there will be no polarity. If there is no polarity, it will automatically be hydrophobic, water insoluble. Next, it is non-polar. Now you would be understanding why it is non-polar. Since it is non-polar, it will be insoluble in aqueous solvent or it will be insoluble in water, right? Understood? Why it will be insoluble in water? Because it is non-polar. Water is a polar solvent, like dissolves like. So water will dissolve only polar things, it will not dissolve non-polar things, right? Now understand this, that all the 4 valencies are different. How am I saying that all the 4 valencies are different? This is CH3, this is hydrogen, this is NH2 and this is COOH. You can see that all of these 4 valencies are different. I have already told you that if all the 4 valencies are different, then the compound should be optically active, right? It can rotate the plane polarized light right or left. Now we have completed alanine. I believe you would have definitely understood this much. Now let us move towards valine. What is valine? You can see that valine, the 1-letter code for valine is V. The 1-letter code for valine is V. There should be no problem because valine starts with V only, so there should be no problem. The 3-letter code again is VAL. This should also be not a problem. R group is isopropyl group. Understand this. R group over here is isopropyl. Now what is prop? Meth, eth, prop. You know that methane, ethane, propane, right? So prop means that it definitely has 3 carbons, right? Prop means it has 3 carbons, but you know, if you recall your basic chemistry classes, you would be able to understand that what did prop means. Prop definitely means 3 carbon, but the arrangement of those 3 carbons was very interesting. Let us check out this. Firstly, let me just highlight the normal structure. This is NH2, this is central carbon, this is COOH, and this is the usual H. What is the difference that you can see in the R group? You can see that there are 3 carbons that are attached. CH is in the center, and one CH3 is extending this side, one CH3 is extending this side. Now you can see that, or you can assume that the shape of the R group is V, like this, isn't it? Can you see that? So you can easily remember that in valine the R group is V shaped. Are you able to understand this? In valine, in case of valine, the R group is V shaped. Why? Because isopropyl group is attached. I hope this concept is pretty clear. Now again, this is a small amino acid, clear, right? Because again it is comparable, right? Only it is a small amino acid. Now one very important thing is that you can see branching over here. This is the first amino acid in which you will be able to observe branching. How come you can see a branching over here? This was CH, right? If you consider this as a chain CH and CH3, then you will say that this is branched, this is branching. Or if you consider this and this as a chain, then you will say that this is branched. What you will see definitely is that it is a branched amino acid. It is small, I have already told you. Isopropyl, I have already told you. Next, the number of chiral carbon is 1. Definitely, in case of alanine also there was 1 chiral carbon. The number of chiral carbon was 1. That means, what do I mean by 1 chiral carbon? At only one carbon you can say that the entire valencies are different. So in case of valine also, this is the carbon that you can assume or that you can see where all valencies are different. Check out NH2 COOH, this is CH3 CH3 CH3, and this is hydrogen. Now if there is 1 chiral carbon, you can definitely say that it will show optical activity, isn't it? So optical activity will be present. Optical activity is present. Okay. Now let us move on to the next point. Let me hide myself so that you can visualize in a better way. Okay. So over here you can see that R group is V-shaped. I showed you. Again, this is a non-polar amino acid because carbon and hydrogen are present. Therefore, you can say that it is a non-polar amino acid. Next, if it is non-polar, it definitely has to be hydrophobic amino acid. If it is hydrophobic, it will be insoluble in the aqueous solutions. So you will be able to understand each point just by simply checking out the structure. So I have explained you all the points over here. Let me move on to the next structure, and this structure is leucine. Let me bring myself back. Right. So now I am talking about leucine. Let us start with the 1-letter code. Let us begin our exercise that we are continuously doing. 1-letter code is L for leucine, right? The 3-letter code is LEU, no problem, because it is starting with L, and 3-letter code continuously is LEU. Now you can see, let me show you. This is the regular structure, NH2, carbon, COOH, and regular hydrogen. Now check out this structure, CH2, CH, CH3, CH3. Now if you closely observe this, what has been done? One CH2 group just has been added. All the other things, this is the isopropyl group, isn't it? We just check this out. This is the isopropyl group. To the isopropyl group, one CH3 or one methyl group has been added. This is what is done. So you can see that this is actually Y-shaped, isn't it? So in case of leucine, the R group is Y-shaped. This is what I have written over here, Y-shaped R group. Again, there is one chiral center. How come one chiral center? Because this is the one chiral center. If you check out any other carbon, let us understand about this carbon. Let us check out this carbon. Is this carbon chiral? No, because 2 hydrogens are attached over here. So this will not satisfy the conditions for a chiral carbon. So only one carbon can be considered as chiral over here. So one chiral center. This is a chiral amino acid. Therefore, optical activity should be present. Next, it is a branched amino acid. You can see the branching over here. Next, it is a hydrophobic amino acid because again carbon and hydrogen are interacting. It is water insoluble amino acid, clear cut, right? Because again it is hydrophobic. Now let us understand about isoleucine. Isoleucine has many important features, so kindly understand this with your ears and eyes open. Firstly, the 1-letter code is I. Okay, that won't be a problem because you would be able to understand that since the amino acid is starting with I, isoleucine starts with I, so you should not be having any problems with this. But the 3-letter code is slightly different that you should, or you would have assumed. The 3-letter code over here is ILE. You might have assumed that it should have been ISO, but it is not correct. The 3-letter code is ILE. Remember this. Next, it is L-shaped. Let us understand this. How come this is L-shaped? For understanding this, firstly, let me highlight what are the features. This is NH2 group, hydrogen, COOH. Now, you can see this CH3, CH2, CH and CH3. You can see that a L-shaped structure is present. In the R group, what is present? Previously we saw that in case of leucine, I told you that isopropyl group is attached with the methyl group. In over here, what has happened is there is a L-shaped structure. Basically 1, 2, 3 and 4 carbons are present over here. Meth, eth, prop, but. Okay, so I believe you would have understood this. And over here I have written also that isobutyl group is present. But means 4 carbon. Let me just hide myself so that you can understand in a better way. Okay, so you can see that 4 carbons are present over here, therefore it is called as but, and since an iso position is present, therefore it is called as an isobutyl group. Clear? Again, carbon, hydrogen present. L-shaped, I told you. What about L-shaped? I told you hydrophobic it is, therefore it is water insoluble, and branching you can see over here. Isoleucine, the most important characteristic, and that has been asked in multiple examination, is that it has 2 chiral centers. Now you would be asking that where are the 2 chiral structures that you are talking about? The first chiral structure is present over here. This is the first carbon. If you check out all the 4 valencies on this carbon, you will find out that all the 4 valencies are different. Okay, so NH, for example, this is different, this is hydrogen, this again is different, and if you check out this, the entire structure is different. Therefore, the first carbon is chiral. Let me just show you about the second carbon. If you check out this carbon, so this carbon on one side is having hydrogen, on one side is having CH3, on one side is having ethyl group, and on the other side it is having this large bulky group. That means that there are 2 chiral centers in case of isoleucine. So there are many ifs and buts in isoleucine. You should listen to this very carefully. Now let us move on to the next slide. Let us talk about proline over here. Okay, so always remember that proline, let me just bring myself back. Always remember that proline is a very different type of a amino acid. Very different type of an amino acid. Whatever properties you see, all the other amino acids will be behaving in one particular type of a fashion, but definitely proline will be behaving in an entirely different type of a fashion. Why is that so? We will just see. Starting with the proline 1-letter code, you can see that 1-letter code of proline is P and 3-letter code is PRO. So this does not pose any difficulty. You can easily correlate with the name proline. But you can see that proline has a cyclic structure. If you check out this structure, you will observe that the proline has a cyclic structure. Now since it is a cyclic structure, let me just show you what all are present over here. Okay, so check out, this is the COOH group, this is the NH2 group, okay, this is the central carbon atom, and this entire is the R group. This complete, the one that I have highlighted in blue color, is the R group. Now over here you can see that what is the change or what is the difference with respect to the other amino acid. The difference is simple, that over here the R group is interacting with the amino group of the same amino acid. Okay, if you check out this, so this is the COOH group, this is the center carbon, this is the hydrogen that is attached to the carbon, this is the amino group. Now you can see that this, what is this? This is the R group, and over here the R group is directly interacting with the amino group. This is why we say that proline has a cyclic structure. And because of this cyclic structure, most of the time proline is posing different problems. I should not say problems, but it is showing a different characteristic than all the other amino acids, right? So this is the alpha amino group, remember. So what we can say that is R group actually shows interaction or interacts with the alpha amino group in case of proline. Therefore, there is a cyclic structure that is present. Next, this is considered as a non-polar amino acid because again you can see that carbon and hydrogen are only present in the R group. Hydrophobic, now you can correlate this also. Water insoluble, you can correlate this also. And one chiral carbon is present, you can correlate this also. Always remember, this has been asked in multiple examination, that proline is the most rigid amino acid. It is not flexible. It cannot be flexible. How can it be flexible? If you just check out the structural details of proline, you would understand that since proline is showing the circular structure, it has no options to be flexible. It will only be rigid. Okay. Now one more important point is that it is showing secondary amino group. We call this as, this structure over here, this amino group is called as secondary amino. This structure is called as secondary amino group. Why will you call this as secondary amino group? Let us understand this. So before going to the secondary amino group, first of all you should be knowing that what is the primary amino group. Primary amino group means that when nitrogen is attached to one carbon, it is called as primary amino. Okay. When nitrogen is attached with two carbons, it is called as secondary amino, or you can also call it as imino group. So secondary amino or imino is the same thing. And when nitrogen is attached with the three carbons, then it is called as tertiary amino group. Okay, let me just check out if you are able to see this or not. Let me just hide myself for a bit. Okay, now you can see that when the nitrogen is attached with three carbons, it will be called as tertiary amino. In this case, in case of proline, you can see that nitrogen is attached with two carbons. Let me just bring myself back. Yes. So over here you can see that nitrogen is attached with two carbons. One carbon is over here, one carbon is over here. Two carbons it is attached. Therefore it is called as secondary amino or imino group. Okay, so this was about proline. Remember this. This is one of the most important amino acids that are asked in the examination. Let us talk about the seventh amino acid in this family. And this seventh amino acid is also called as methionine. What it is called? It is called as methionine. Let us start with the one letter code. Simple, no problems. M for methionine. That means the one letter code can be M. This should not pose any problems. Now talking about the three letter code. Three letter code is MET. Methionine means MET. Three letter codes MET. Now very important point that you should remember is that it is one of the sulfur containing amino acids. Why did I say it is one of the sulfur containing amino acids? Why? Because there are actually two amino acids that are sulfur containing. One is methionine and the other one is cysteine. Cysteine is other one, right? So one letter code M, three letter code MET, sulfur containing amino acid. You can see over here, let me just draw this. So this is the regular structure, and if I talk about the R group, you can see that CH2, CH2, S, CH3, CH2, CH2, S, CH3. That means S or sulfur group is present between the two methyl groups. It is present between two methyl groups. Remember this. Okay, it is a sulfur containing amino acid, all right, but it is non-polar in nature. Remember this, it is non-polar in nature. Why it is non-polar in nature? Because sulfur cannot, or sulfur is not attached with an element that has a very low electronegativity. It is not attached with hydrogen or something. It is attached with carbon. Okay, so you cannot say that sulfur and carbon bonds are polar in nature. It is not polar. Therefore, we call that as non-polar amino acids. Next, it is hydrophobic. Since it is non-polar, it definitely will be hydrophobic. If it is hydrophobic, it will definitely be water insoluble. It cannot be oxidized easily. Understand this, or I would be talking more about this point when I would be discussing cysteine. It cannot be oxidized. Basically in cysteine what happens is, cysteine has SH bond, sulfur hydryl group is present, SH group. So when one cysteine is or comes close to the other cysteine, what happens is this hydrogen gets removed and disulfide linkage is formed. Right? Now you would be knowing that when the hydrogen is removed, what do you call this process? You call this process as oxidation. So this oxidation is pretty common in case of cysteine, but it is very uncommon, or it cannot happen in case of methionine. Why? Because over here the sulfur is not present terminally. Sulfur is not present terminally. Therefore oxidation is not easy. It cannot be oxidized easily. Next, disulfide bonding. Therefore disulfide bonding is not possible. Over here, this is what I told you. This is the sulfur-sulfur bond, or called as the disulfide linkage. Now this disulfide linkage can only be present in cysteine. Why did I say so? Because in case of cysteine, the sulfur is present terminally and it is attached to the hydrogen. When it is attached to the hydrogen, hydrogen and hydrogen of two cysteine come close and they get removed. Therefore the sulfur-sulfur start binding with each other. Therefore this is called as disulfide linkage. But since in case of methionine, sulfur is not present terminally, therefore disulfide linkage is not formed. So not possible. This is the thing about methionine. Now one more thing about methionine is that it is the starting amino acid. Start amino acid. You would be knowing that all the protein synthesis basically starts with methionine in case of eukaryotes. In case of prokaryotes, it starts with formilated methionine. I believe you would have understood this much. Let us move on to the next point. And the next point is, just give me a minute. Yes, phenylalanine. Now phenylalanine is again a non-polar amino acid. Let us start with the 1 letter code. 1 letter code is F, 3 letter code is PHE. So this is not a problem again. PHE is the same thing. PHENY, we are starting with phenylalanine, so 3 letter code can be PHE. Now it is called as an aromatic amino acid. Why do you call it as an aromatic amino acid? Now in basic chemistry classes you would have learned that aromatic means that one is having the benzene ring. When the benzene ring is present, you can call it as an aromatic amino acid. Clear? Okay, so let me just show it to you that where is the benzose. This is the common structure, right? This is the common structure. You can see that this is the benzene ring. Now this benzene ring is attached over here as an R group. So R group, okay, sorry, just give me a minute. So this is not CH3 over here. This is the common structure. So what is attached over here? Methyl benzene is attached over here. Methyl benzene acts as an R group. Why am I saying methyl benzene is acts as an R group? Because you can see that this is the methyl group. This entire structure is called as methyl benzene, right? So over here the R group is methyl benzene. Again, methyl benzene is a hydrophobic group. You cannot see that basically it is attached to carbon only, right? This also is carbon-carbon bonding. So how would you say that the carbon-carbon bonding is polar in nature? Again, it is non-polar in nature. If it is non-polar in nature, it is hydrophobic. If it is hydrophobic, it cannot be solubilized in water. Again, one chiral carbon is present. Only in isoleucine up till now we have read that 2 chiral carbons were present. One very important feature of this phenylalanine is that it can absorb light. What does this mean? Always remember that the benzene ring that is often displayed like this, suppose this is the benzene ring, okay. So whenever a compound that is, or whenever an amino acid that has a benzene ring, a light falls on it. Suppose this is H nu, light is falling on the benzene ring. of the amino acid, what happens is the benzene ring shows relocalization of electrons. Okay, so this bond will be breaking in this side, this bond will be breaking in this side, and this bond will be breaking in this side. So it will be like this, and like this now. So the energy that was absorbed is now used in the relocalization of electrons, and this is the reason why the amino acids that have the benzene ring can easily absorb light. Apart from phenylalanine, you would observe tyrosine and tryptophan. These three amino acids basically can absorb light. Okay, so how is absorption done, or why is absorption done? I told you, because of the relocalization of electrons. Clear? So this was phenylalanine. Now one important feature is phenylalanine is starting from P, but you have its one letter code as F. Remember this, it is having benzene ring, because of that absorption can be seen. It is hydrophobic, R group is methyl benzene. Let us move on to the next point. We have completed phenylalanine, and now we are moving towards the last of the aromatic amino acids examples. The last example is tryptophan. Again, I told you tryptophan, phenylalanine and tyrosine. Let me just write them down. W, Y and F. W means tryptophan, Y means tyrosine, F means phenylalanine. We have already studied phenylalanine, and we have said that it was having a methyl benzene group attached to it. Now we are talking about the tryptophan. Tryptophan has one letter code as W. Tryptophan has three letter code as TRP. It is an aromatic amino acid. Why? Let me just show it to you. Okay, so this is the regular structure. Now over here you can see that CH2, C double bond CH, NH. This is again one ring, but it is not a benzene ring. But over here you can see that there is a benzene ring. So since the benzene ring is present, therefore it can be considered as an aromatic amino acid. If it is an aromatic amino acid, definitely it will absorb light. It will definitely absorb light. You would have understood this. There will be absorbance. There is one chiral carbon over here. It is hydrophobic in nature. Again, I told you, hydrophobic, water insoluble. Next, one very important thing is that the R group over here is called as the indole group. The R group that I have shown, it is called as the indole group. Now, if this name indole strikes bells inside your mind, then you are correct, because indole is a term that you might have studied in plant physiology when you were studying auxin. Auxin is also called as indole acetic acid. It is called as indole acetic acid. Indole acetic acid is the other name for auxin, right? Therefore, we can also say that tryptophan is the precursor of auxin. Very important point. Tryptophan can be considered as the precursor of auxin. Tryptophan can be considered as the precursor of auxin. Right, so I believe you would have understood this. Now what we have done is we have completed all the different amino acids that were the examples of non-polar amino acids. That means we have completed all the non-polar amino acids. Now I would want to give you a very important information before we end this session. So the GATE BT classes, the GATE BT 2024 classes are starting from 12th June. So we are starting the classes from 12th June. The classes will be from 6 PM to 7:30 PM daily from Monday to Saturday, and Sundays will be reserved for tests. Apart from that, we are giving multiple opportunities for the students to do good, right? We are providing free test series, free DPPs, free the doubt clearing sessions, unlimited doubt clearing sessions, The PDF recordings, the PDF will be available for your lifetime. The recordings will be available up till the GATE examination, right? Apart from that, the most important feature of this class is that we will be revising 2 times, that you would not get anywhere else. Revision 2 times. In this revision, we will be solving different PYQs of different examinations. Apart from GATE also, we would be solving different PYQs. DPPs means you would be getting questions on a daily basis, 10 to 15 questions on a daily basis, so that you can check out whatever you have studied, right? So apart from this, one more thing that I would like to add over here is that the initial 3 classes are free. All the students can attend these initial 3 classes. How can you attend it? You can go to my Telegram channel. If you are not present on my Telegram channel till now, you can check out the description box. You can find out the Telegram channel link. You can go to my Telegram channel, and just before the classes the link will be posted. You can check out those classes free of cost, and if you find that yes, these classes are beneficial for you, I definitely feel that you will definitely find these classes useful for you, then you can join the classes. Okay, so this was the announcement from my side. I would expect that you would be joining in great numbers. 30 seats are only present for this batch, so I would request you, if you want to join in, make haste. Thank you so much. Have a good day. If you like this video, hit the like button, press the bell icon so that all the notifications reach to you pretty quickly. Do not forget to share it with your friends. Thank you so much. Have a good day.